The spoon slipped from my grasp, betraying me with a sharp metallic clatter on the plate, and just like that, silence descended on the dining room. My father's breath broke that moment like glass underfoot. "Get out," he said with a voice that almost resembled kindness. "You've disgraced us." The chandelier threatened to shatter above, its light trembling at the edges, while I stood frozen, the air heavy with perfume and a decent dose of shame. My parents and sister, Jenna, didn't look my way as I shuffled toward the door, each of my footsteps echoing off the glimmering marble floor. Behind me, a thin line cracked across my untouched glass of water, an omen, perhaps, foreshadowing years of family drama that would eventually lead them back to me, like breadcrumbs left along a meandering path. After all, who would have thought my future would be etched into that tiny fracture? At 12, my father, Thomas, made his famous remark to a reporter: "Talent skipped generations." He grinned, arm draped around Jenna, our household prodigy after winning a school essay contest. Meanwhile, I stood beside the camera, gripping the watercolor ribbon earned that week. Unnoticed and unsung, I learned that home was often like an art gallery, beautiful yet uninviting. Love arrived wrapped in a quiet tapestry of rules: stay composed, stay useful, stay unseen. Our house in Maple Bridge, aged like fine wine, had tall windows and cold floors that amplified whispers. While Jenna caressed the piano keys nearby, I set the table for the guests. Dad deemed her our shining star while I was just reliable. Praise became stings that pricked my skin like a forgotten title, often feeling less loved and more like a shadow in the backdrop of their brilliance. When I hit 16, I finally decided to shed my quiet facade. I exhibited my art at a local contest and spent nights sweating oil and turpentine, all dreams and passion mixed in a palette. The day came, but my parents didn't show. Returning home decorated with a small bronze medal, my mother adjusted her pearls and mumbled about donors. "You understand," she added, as if my success was merely a backdrop to their gala night. Without a second glance, I left the medal to collect dust beside a bowl of lemons. Jenna shimmered under attention. It was her allure, her natural charm. From beloved by teachers to winning scholarships, she needed no prompting. That winter, Dad requested us both to paint for the gallery foyer. I poured my soul into sunlight breaking through stained glass, but like my past experiences, it went unnoticed. Dad's pacing eyes stayed glued to crucial papers, and Mom's compliment felt more like a polite pity. You see, absence among us didn't stir with shouts. It began in the silent hollows, half-closed doors, names unspoken, glances evading mine. As the comfort of routine wrapped around our family like fog, I learned where I stood unseen and unheard. The day arrived when I realized their silence was more telling than any loud argument ever could be. It needed no words. That fateful Wednesday, an envelope appeared, thin and cream-colored, the scent of roses and dust wafting from within. My name sprawled across the front in penmanship I hadn't encountered in 6 long years, Valerie's. Curiosity piqued, I ripped it open at my desk in the Community Art Center, hands still speckled with wet paint. Little did I know, this single slip of paper would pivot my world and, perhaps, unveil the truth I had long kept at bay. Holding the wedding invitation felt like clutching a heavy stone rather than a celebratory card. Jenna, my younger sister, was tying the knot at Granville Hall, and there it was, elegantly printed yet devoid of warmth, with my name crossed out in blue ink. The effort to erase me left a faint indentation on the paper, echoing a hesitant moment that lingered long after. In the back of the classroom, the sound of laughter and paintbrushes clashed with my reality, swirling in an absurd contrast. I strolled over to the window, where the late autumn light danced across the square, illuminating the Bennett House of Art, my father Thomas's gallery. It stood firm, seemingly oblivious to the fractures in our family. It was a silent monument to my past, a reminder that nothing had changed on the outside, even as everything shattered inside me. The echo of my father's voice sliced through my thoughts, his harsh command to get out still haunting me like a bad melody on repeat. That evening, as I tucked in my son Noah, he innocently asked about his grandparents, his blue eyes mirroring Thomas's. I hesitated, caught between wanting to shield him from pain and the truth. Yes, but they live very far away, I said, delivering a half-answer that seemingly satisfied him. It wasn't a lie, but it was far from the whole tale, more like a breadcrumb of reality that we both had to digest. Sitting in the kitchen later, I found that wedding invitation glaring at me again, its gold foil glinting like it was mocking my very existence. I could have ripped it apart or tossed it in the fire, but no, I folded it neatly and tucked it away with the unpaid bills and school forms. It was a smile full of hollow recognition, not forgiveness, but a promise to remember this moment. After all, I had been erased once, but I wasn't vanishing silently this time. As the dawn light slipped through the curtains, I awoke early again, the apartment steeped in solitude save for the comforting hum of the radiator. The air was fragrant with the lingering scents of paint thinner and coffee grounds, which always filled me with a bizarre sense of contentment. Noah was still lost in dreams, so I tidied our table area, sorting through what little pieces of life we had, receipts, lesson plans, and a half-used sketchbook, each curled edge stained with the remnants of creativity. Zoning in on a clean page, I scrawled 3 words at the top: keep close quiet. This became the mantra that guided my mornings. Each day was a delicate dance of brewing robust coffee, juggling art class emails, and navigating the bills that beckoned for attention. With Noah's sketchpad slung over his shoulder like armor, we ventured out to the community center, passing the imposing Bennett house. Now I faced it, eyes locked, determined not to flinch. Back at home, I embraced the silent grind of work. Teaching online workshops and prepping art supplies became my rhythm, creating a life that hummed with quiet productivity. With every step, I sorted through records from my past, cataloging every scrap of evidence proving that I had thrived without my family's support. This labor transformed into a nightly ritual, a digital document titled Foundations, where I toiled over hospital invoices and rent agreements, laying the groundwork for a narrative that they couldn't rewrite. This wasn't an act of revenge, it was a meticulous documentation of endurance, a declaration of my survival. Each line added to my digital ledger felt like a quiet rectification against the tale they spun about me. My effort was adorned not with dramatic fireworks but with a resolute calm, where I could transform pain into a series of record-keeping triumphs, punctuating my existence with undeniable proof that I was so much more than what they believed. As I sank into my chair, the fridge buzzed a soothing tune, and the soft breaths from the bedroom reminded me of my accomplishments. I had rebuilt life from the ground up, and no one could take that away from me. Wandering past the local art cafe, I spotted Patrick Hale, the owner and an art critic who once unknowingly critiqued my high school exhibit. He grinned while hanging my paintings, appreciating the way I captured stillness, which, unsurprisingly, kept my spirits alive. The weeks leading up to Jenna's wedding were a flurry of small but deliberate tasks. Noah needed a new winter jacket, a broken chair cried out for repairs, and late-night painting sessions became my escape. One particular artwork haunted my thoughts, a revamped version of an old piece I'd lovingly termed Light Through Window. After years hiding in the shadows, I brought it to life with vibrant colors and banished any trace of darkness. Then, the universe sent me a letter. This wasn't just any letter, it was from my father, bearing his distinctive handwriting that somehow made my heart race. Inside was a check and a simple yet poignant request: if you're willing, I'd like to see you again. His signature wobbled just enough to hint at vulnerability. I absorbed the weight of it, tracing the ink anxiously with my thumb. The money? Meh. But the acknowledgement of my existence? That struck a chord. I tucked the letter away like a secret treasure and focused on my creation, plotting a different kind of response, armed with a meticulous map of truths. Saturdays became a joyful ritual with Noah as we painted at the community center, his vibrant spirit lighting up the room. The kids adored him, and his knack for color mixing was truly surprising. "You can see feelings and colors, Mom," he once said. "Yours are quieter than mine." He had a point. During those afternoons, I often caught my reflection, a woman transformed, her hands speckled with paint, and a calm about her that felt foreign. It was a far cry from the girl who had been tossed out of a home, and it occurred to me that I didn't need forgiveness, I craved stability. With Noah peacefully snoozing, I would sit by the window, bathed in the soft glow from street lamps reflecting off my artwork. Memories of my parents' home crept back, those marble floors and my father's words echoed in my mind, but this time, they were mere data to store away. My life had morphed into its own archival project, each detail neatly categorized. As Jenna's wedding loomed, I channeled that inner drive into everything I could control: lesson plans, art supplies, savings accounts. The minutiae made me feel powerful. Before the ceremony, I opened my sketchbook, scribbling a promise to let silence do the talking if I ever crossed paths with them again. That thought lingered as I turned off the lamp, slid the note into my journal, and drifted off to sleep with a newfound sense of purpose. Come the morning of Jenna's wedding, icy frost dusted the edges of the window. Noah was struggling with his itchy tie, and I reassured him that we were just visiting. He clutched my hand, confidence shining in his little eyes. Stepping outside, the air felt crisp and refreshing, a breath of honesty in contrast to the chaos of my past. As I locked the door behind us, the key clinked in my pocket, a cold token grounding me in this moment. My apartment had been a sanctuary of stillness, a cocoon that had kept the noise of my former life at bay, and now, with each purposeful step into the world, I was ready for whatever came next. The noise wrapped around us like a thick fog as we entered Granville Hall, a place that sparkled under the November sky like a chic glass-cut jewel. The sweet scent of lilies mingled with the shine of polished silver, creating a dreamy atmosphere that was both enchanting and overwhelming. My son Noah clutched my hand tightly, his shoes squeaking against the marble floor, unaware of the impending storm of family dynamics. With big, curious eyes, he soaked in the elegance, the chandeliers, the soft strings of the quartet, and the glamorous guests, who barely seemed to acknowledge folks like us. Then, out of the background noise came a timid voice that sent a jolt through me. "You came." Jenna, my little sister, appeared at the foot of the stairs, adorned in a beautiful white gown, clutching a bouquet and trembling ever so slightly. She looked just like I remembered, fragile, cherished, and immune to the harsher lessons life had thrown my way. "I almost didn't," I replied, the calmness in my voice belying the chaos around us. Jenna smiled, torn between relief and anxiety, her gaze darting toward the crowd. I followed her glance across the room to the infamous Thomas and Valerie Bennett, standing like timeless statues amidst a gaggle of extravagantly dressed friends. My father's stiff posture was much the same, a picture of unyielding composure, while my mother's predatory gaze scoured the crowd until it landed squarely on me. The ambience shifted dramatically, the music seemed to halt, and for a moment, time froze. My father's glass lingered mid-air, a tense embodiment of shared history, while my mother's hand was paralyzed atop her designer clutch. Suddenly, as if on cue, Noah shifted behind my leg, oblivious to the turmoil. My heart raced as I registered the collective gasp of disbelief. The little boy beside me had become a living symbol of family history rearing its head. I stood frozen, aware that the silence had built a wall of tension that my family had carefully curated. This was their bubble, filled with reputation and fear, and for the first time, it felt like they couldn't control it. Patrick Hale, the art critic who had championed my work, was first to break the tension. He edged closer to Noah, searching for a reflection of me in the child's face before his gaze darted back to my father. "The boy's got her hands," he remarked, a tone of reverence in his voice. Before I could even process, Noah fished out his sketchbook and began to draw, his pencil dancing across the page with unguarded ease, a rhythm that shattered the uneasy silence around us, drawing inquisitive onlookers like moths to a flame. The drawing, a simple portrayal of two figures basked in soft light, drew the musings of the crowd. My father's stony demeanor began to crack as his jaw clenched tighter, realization washing over him. That window, that composition, his past screamed back at him from the paper. Patrick quietly acknowledged the truth that my father had been trying to ignore. He has her gift, a Bennett after all. The murmurs spread through the crowd, and I could feel the residual disbelief as glasses clinked nervously, while the orchestra hesitated, caught in the web of the unfolding drama. Finally, my father broke his silence, uttering my name like a weighty confession. With tentative steps, he approached. "Please don't go." I faced him, realizing for the first time that his eyes lacked their usual coldness. "You told me to leave," I responded, a calm valor imbued in my words. "I was wrong," he said, the facade collapsing as he exhaled deeply. My mother, eyes misty, whispered, "He looks so much like you." "He should," I replied, triumph rushing through me. Noah was living proof that he couldn't erase me, a fact that seemed to linger thickly in the air. As if to punctuate this emotional roller coaster, Noah looked up, innocently asking, "Can we go home now, Mom?" His simple question echoed louder than all the drama that had just transpired. "Yes, sweetheart," I sighed, taking his small hand firmly into mine. In a quiet procession, the guests parted as we walked through the atrium, my heart pounding to a victorious beat as we made our way out of the suffocating glamour that had once bound us, step by step toward freedom. My father's hand hovered in the air but never landed on me. Mom's eyes sparkled, glittering with a cocktail of pride and lingering regret. As I paused at the door, a glance back revealed shattered glass dancing on the marble floor. A waiter was diligently gathering the remnants into a silver pan. Strangely, I didn't feel the thrill of victory. Instead, I felt like a well-calibrated clock, precise and unwavering. Behind me, my father gently called my name, but I wasn't about to turn around. Outside, the cold air blasted my face, refreshing like I hit the reset button of life. Inside, the music began again, a muffled melody that faded behind those heavy doors. Gripping Noah's hand tightly, we stepped into the night together. I understood that justice isn't always a loud, triumphant drumroll, it can be as gentle as a breath no one knew they'd been holding for years. The following week, the snow began to drift down, delicate flakes catching in the streetlights outside our apartment. The world outside hushed itself to a whisper. Within the cozy confines of our space, the heater rattled and the divine aroma of cocoa wafted through the air. Noah diligently colored a picture of two figures holding hands under that gentle falling snow. He hummed a little tune, completely oblivious that our lives had just taken a turn. Since the wedding, my phone had buzzed twice with messages from Jenna, each one short, carefully chosen. The last message lingered in my mind, "They want to come see your class." I was hesitant to reply. My gaze remained fixed on our student's mural, a riot of colors exploding across the dreary, gray wall. Every stroke told the story of what I had built out of the silence that once engulfed me. Then came that Saturday when they finally arrived. My parents hesitated at the threshold of the children's art room, no cameras or audience to scrutinize them, just laughter and the unmistakable scent of poster paint. Noah dashed over to greet them, enthusiastically dragging them toward his colorful table. "Look, Grandma and Grandpa, I'm mixing blue and yellow." His innocent excitement shone brighter than the art around us. As they settled in, my father's gaze softened while he observed Noah's artistic process. Mom seated herself beside him, hands clasped nervously until she finally ventured to say, "He's happy here." I simply nodded, sharing an unspoken understanding. We both were. For a while, they stayed, quietly learning the rhythm of my world, rinsing brushes, and drying paper while becoming part of our art haven. At the end of class, Noah proudly handed my father a drawing, a radiant window basking in sunlight, an image reminiscent of my own past creation. "You kept your light," he quietly commented, and I didn't need to say a thing in reply. That evening, with them gone, the studio carried the fresh scent of soap mixed with drying paint. Alone by the window, I cherished the fading laughter from the park, basking in a serenity that didn't require forgiveness to exist. As I turned off the lights one by one, the mural glowed faintly, its colors rich against the wall. The window, painted with uncertain yet hopeful strokes, shone the brightest. Silence, once a dreaded companion, became my new friend, my home. I used to equate survival with loud pleas and constant explanations. But real survival whispered, a brushstroke on canvas, a child's giggle in a sunlit room, and the steadiness that comes when someone softly speaks your name. Truth, not forgiveness, rebuilt my family, standing tall and unwavering.